Hi, this is Ron Turner. Welcome to this episode of Frontrunner 2020.
And the next type of organization is the business community. There are a number of ways to network within the business community, and thus we have another poll.
For best civic engagement, the best type of business networking group to join is Chamber of Commerce, informal breakfast or lunch groups, professional or trade groups, online groups such as LinkedIn, and there's that poker club again. For best civic engagement, the best type of business networking group to join is the Chamber of Commerce, informal breakfast or lunch groups, professional or trade groups, online groups such as LinkedIn, the poker club. For best civic engagement, the best type of business networking group to join is the Chamber of Commerce, 75%, informal breakfast or lunch groups, 25%, professional or trade groups, 0, online groups such as LinkedIn, 0, poker club, 0. David?
Well, still no votes for the poker club. 3/4 of the group, you got it right. Your Chamber of Commerce members, in addition to looking to grow their businesses, are engaged in their communities. They care about all aspects of the community. You definitely want to join the Chamber of Commerce. There are some informal or maybe more formal groups which don't have Chamber of Commerce dues associated with them. But I found, again, like some of the professional organizations, there are people there that are focused on growing their businesses but not really focused on the community the way a typical Chamber of Commerce member would be. And the Chamber of Commerce leads to a lot of great second-tier opportunities, committee and leadership posts. If you're in a metropolitan area with multiple chambers of commerce, there are committees, organizations that stretch across multiple chambers, and the chambers of commerce sponsor leadership programs, which are excellent programs to get an overview of everything in the community. If you're not familiar with them, a program typically lasts over a 9-month or so period. Each month you will concentrate on a different facet of your community. You'll learn about the city one month, the county another, school district another, the healthcare institutions another. It's a great program to get into. And I'll go off on a little tangent here with some other opportunities to learn about your community. In addition to the Chamber of Commerce programs, there are some cities that have what they may call a City Hall 101 program. Some counties will have a County 101. And again, those are great overviews to learn about all the different departments and functions. If you want to go into something in depth, if you're interested in law enforcement, you go to the Citizens Police Academy. And by the way, this is useful even if you're going for state or federal office, because it's local, state, and federal funding and policies all interplay to make your local police department work. Similarly with the fire department. You can also serve on a city or county board specializing in a certain area, be it parks, libraries, or you name it. If there's not an opportunity to immediately get appointed to one of these, start attending the meetings. That's often a path towards getting appointed. And a note regarding all these, and many of these programs, particularly the Chamber of Commerce programs, the enrollment is competitive. You'll have 2 or 3, 4 times as many people apply for the class that they'll have seats for. But what they will look for is your involvement in these other organizations. If you're going to get into a Chamber of Commerce leadership program, they're going to look to see, are you active in your homeowners association, in your PTA, so forth. They will want to see a commitment to the community, a commitment towards leadership to make you a good candidate for the program. And we'll now move on to the last 3 types of organizations on the list, namely political party, campaign, and advocacy. These are on the bottom of the list not because they're the least important, but because most folks interested in running for office have already become active in one or more of those groups. But if you haven't become active in your political party, you certainly should do so. And you should do so even if you're going to pursue a nonpartisan office. You certainly, as you've heard in the series before, you certainly should work in some campaigns, so you'll see what that is like from the inside. And last but not least are the advocacy groups. And of course, here's one of the best opportunities to pursue your passions, because there are so many different advocacy groups, ranging from the Sierra Club to the National Rifle Association to 1,001 other causes or cause areas. But all other things being equal, choose advocacy organizations that might depend, at least in part, on government funding, or be very dependent on government policies. I guess it's sort of like going to the police academy or some of these other things. That bottoms-up view of how government affects things is very valuable if you're going to later serve as a government official. And now we'll move on to a couple of final polls before this gets opened up for questions.
Now that David has explained these 8 types of organizations, we'd like to ask you, in how many of the 8 types of organizations are you currently active? None, or 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8? And how many of the 8 types of organizations are you currently active? 2 or less, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8? Well, it looks like 3 or 4 is the answer.
Okay, we've got a homogeneous audience here.
So let's, you ready to go on to the next one, David?
Yes.
Okay. And how many of the 8 types of organizations do you plan to become active? None, 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8? And how many of the 8 types of organizations do you plan to become active? None, 1 or 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8? 3 or 4, 33%. 5, 33%. 6, 33%. So what
Well,
do you
great.
think?
Nobody's planning on cutting back, and
That would be
some
funny.
folks are thinking about um, joining one or two or three more. But let me tell you what the profile of a typical newly elected official is. A typical newly elected official has been active in 7 or 8 of that group of 8, and they probably had second-tier involvement in 4 or 5.
Wow.
So if you're a prospective candidate, that leads us to this evening's homework assignment. First, take a look at your involvement. Join some organizations that you're not currently in, and you become civically engaged. Now, a tip, let's say you're in 3 organizations and you want to get up to 7 or 8. You don't have to do that all at once, assuming you're on some sort of timeline, other than announcing your candidacy next month. If you haven't been going to church, you start back again. If you haven't been in a Rotary Club, maybe once you've gotten in the swing of things regarding your faith group, then join the Rotary Club or the best service club in your community. After you become active in that, add another on. And believe it or not, you'll actually find it easier to do the work you might be doing in association with these groups as you get involved in more organizations. For example, if you get involved in a neighborhood revitalization program as an offshoot of a city committee that you might be on, if you're in a faith group, or particularly an interfaith group, which was on the slide, I didn't neglected to mention that. If you're already engaged in an interfaith group, it's easy to bring them in. If you're already involved in your homeowners association, your neighborhood association, it's easier to bring them in. If you're already involved in the PTAs, it's easier to bring them in than if you're starting as somebody completely outside those organizations. And that's about all I've got to say right now as part of this formal presentation. And if you're ready, Ron, I'm ready to open this up for some questions.
Sure. I'd be happy to, David. That's awesome. And ending with homework is exactly what we always like to do, is to talk about action now. It's just very fact-based, information-packed presentation